I thought that was just take one. Does that noise mean it's on?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2022 officially started in February, where I ran my first marathon without a swim and a bike before it. That marathon was in Seville. Multiple reasons for doing it. There were a lot of Clapham chasers doing it. Amy was doing it. So that was a sort of focus over the winter. I didn't by any means marathon train. I did an awful lot of swimming, fair bit of running and a small bit of biking throughout the winter period. And went out to Seville, ran a marathon. It went reasonably well. I ran 2:46, which was definitely faster than I planned to. The original plan was sort of see if you can get in 2:50 shape and not detract from swim bike training, with triathlon being the main goal for the season. I definitely got a bit carried away in the race. After about 10k, I was bored and sort of picked the pace up and paid the consequences for that, as everybody sort of does in the last 6 miles or so. So learned some lessons, but overall pretty happy with a marathon debut and sort of knowing what it feels like to run a marathon, which is very different to running a marathon at the end of an Ironman.
Would you run another marathon again on its own?
Yes, I'm going to run one in April in London.
Oh.
So in April, went out for a 2-week training camp with the Triforce clan. Most people were doing 1 or 2, like the first or second week. There's a few of us that did both weeks. Obviously, Fenella was there, and the coaches for the full 2 weeks, if not more. This was brilliant. I've been on 1-week training camps prior. 2 weeks really gives you the ability to have some more rest and recovery rather than smash yourself for 2 weeks and sort of pay the price for it afterwards. But it also gave me loads of opportunity to ride bits of the Muoer 70.3 course, which was the race I was doing a few weeks after. Really got to know that course quite well, how long it will take me to climb, what power I can do and sustain, and then ride on the descent and flats and downhill. So I really had that knowledge. We also did an awful lot of swimming, and I get to swim with lots of people that are better than me, people that are similar ability to me, which is a massive plus on a camp. Particularly my current situation, I don't swim with anybody. So having that back in training for a few weeks gives you a good gauge of where you're at, or sort of maybe grounds you where you're not as good as you think you are, which is definitely the case for me. So yeah, really good camp. Love Mallorca, love the weather, and it was a good time of year to get that volume of training in. So the first race of the year was Mallorca 70.3. It was a great race. It's probably the most fun I've had racing ever, including races I've done later in 2022. I was carrying a bit of a run niggle earlier in the year with my calf, so I hadn't done a huge amount of running, even on the camp that I'd previously spoken about. So the goal was just to swim and bike as fast and as hard as I possibly could within my sort of limits and ranges, and sort of cruise the run, try and get through the run without re-tearing or aggravating my calf injury, so that I could then build towards the latter part of the season. And the race panned out almost exactly how I hoped it would. I came away with a swim PB for the half Ironman distance, 27 minutes something. There were lots of people that still somehow swam 22, 23 minutes. I don't know how these people swim that quick. But 27 minutes meant that there weren't a lot of people in front of me. It gave me the ability to catch people on the bike. It gave me the ability to be riding with people that are as good or good bike riders. Therefore, you ride faster, you can work in groups, etc. There was one athlete in particular I wanted to catch or ride and race, which was James Kessel, a fellow chaser. He absolutely thrashes me in the pool and has done for years. I think it was about a minute the deficit out of the water, and by about 10 miles, 10k in, before the climb, I'd caught him, and then I basically rode, albeit I tried to drop him, rode the next 80 odd K with James and others. And it was just a lot of fun. Knowing I wasn't going to run anywhere near my sort of capability, I like to think, maybe people can disagree, but I like to think I just rode on the front of any group I came across. I took very little rest. I possibly would have raced a bit differently if I was hoping to run well, but I basically rode to the front of every group I got, pushed quite big power that I'd never pushed before in a 70.3, which was great, felt great, and got myself into sort of top 10 position overall coming off the bike, which gave me massive confidence. If I was in the run shape of a sort of sub 80-minute run, which I believe I'm capable of, I clearly would have stayed at the front end of that race and sort of podiumed, etc. So some good indications for what could come later in the year. So post Mallorca, I had a period of time to build to the first full distance of the year, which was Challenge Roth. This was the race that I was targeting to sort of go faster than I had before, try and race at the front end of a full distance race. So very committed to building towards that. Everything was going really well on the build to Roth. I was back running normal sort of mileage, normal sort of intensity for me for about 4 to 5 weeks pre-race, which gave me the confidence that I can run a marathon. Come on, Jake, doggy training camp. At sort of 3-hour marathon pace for sort of 90 minutes at a time. And so that would be the goal. Leading into Roth, I did a race called the Centurion, run by Active Training World. They do these in various locations around the country or home counties. I did one last year, which was the Metric, which is a 100k race, similar to the PTO distance now. This year I did the Imperial, so effectively it's a race over 100 miles, so it's less than an Ironman, but more than a 70.3. I did that as my final brick session, leading into Roth. That went really well. I won by almost an hour against a very strong field of about 26 athletes. But it was really good to ride. Of course, I know it's less than 10 miles from my house. Be able to put out the power I believed I could put out for an Ironman, and then run for, again, 90 minutes or so at desired Ironman pace, effort, and then knock it back a little bit so that I wasn't overcooking myself. We then went out to Germany, and Roth is like it's not like any other race I've ever done. It felt a bit like Kona with the sort of lead up to it. You know, there's lots of the A-list sort of pros around. The expo's huge. There's lots of hype. But the support from the town, the volunteers is just immense. Like, it beats any other race I've ever done. Everything, it's almost like every decision they make as an event, they say, will the customer, will the athlete benefit from this? And if the answer's not yes, they don't do it. Or how do they make the answer yes? It just seems like every single athlete gets an amazing experience, which is great. The race itself went reasonably well. I did a low 58-minute swim, which was just a PB for me, albeit I was a bit disappointed that I wasn't a few minutes quicker, as sort of training sort of indicated I should be closer to sort of 55, 56 minutes. The bike was great. I had an amazing 2.5 hours where I was working with some super strong guys. Some of them I knew first name basis, like Danny Bluff and Zach Cooper. Others I could just tell from the kit they're wearing, the way they're riding the bike, that these are sort of the top age groupers in this race, one of which went on to win the whole thing. Unfortunately, about 2.5 hours in, a lack of concentration, I think a slight front tyre issue where my sealant was leaking, and going through an aid station all accumulated into about 30 seconds, I lost the 3 or 4 boys I was with. I didn't panic. I thought, well, we're 110k into the ride, how much time could I lose? Albeit the answer to that question was about 7 or 8 minutes. So very annoying. I definitely was right. I wasn't necessarily pulling big turns or any turns on the front. I was certainly at the back, not hanging on, but not able to ride all the way up and sort of sit on the front. That would have required a huge effort, but definitely sat at Ironman power, if not just below off the back. And I would have benefited massively from being pulled into T2, 7-8 minutes up the road. Who wouldn't want that? The run was, I don't really know how to describe the run. It wasn't my best, it wasn't my worst. I was confident I could run close to 3 hours. The first 8k, 10k was at that pace. I was running with a lad called Tom Bill, another British lad. We were chatting away and I thought, God, this will be great. If I can do this for 20, 30k and I've got a mate with me, again, like the bike, that will pull you along. Tom then stopped for a wee unannounced and I thought he'd blown up. So I plodded on, and it tends to get lonely, hot and horrible up on the canal. And the pace dropped, and I'm not really sure what happened, to be honest. I wasn't at the races mentally. I wasn't willing to sort of push on, etc. Tom came steaming past me shortly later, and it wasn't until after the race I realised he stopped for a wee, and perhaps I should have carried on our sort of chats along the canal. That would have sped things up. Overall finished 8:52, 53, which was a bit quicker than Hamburg the year before. You get your money back at Roth for going sub 9 hours, so I couldn't be too disappointed. And it was great to see, in particular, Fenella smash an 8:31, something that she's been more than capable of doing over that distance on that sort of course. So that gave a lot of fire to the sort of fuel to the fire, etc. And obviously seeing Amy come through in 10:28 was a big highlight. In some ways that race was more about her finishing than me, so that's my excuse. But watching her finish and watching her run 3:30 was unbelievable, and we had a good time. Slap house. So the last main race of 2022 was Ironman Wales, which I won't bore myself, as this is my diary, the details of, because that's in a separate video. Since Wales, I did do another race. I did do the Clapham Chasers Club Champs over in Great Yarmouth, which is another active training world event. I won it. I beat all the relay teams as well, which I know annoyed one team in particular because they brought a strong team apparently. But it's a bit of fun for the end of the year. Unfortunately, that bit of fun has cost me a bit of one of my lingering calf problems that I had this time last year. So I'm now sat at home, wrapped in a blanket, drinking cider, and this is actually empty and it's here for show. So Amy needs to buy me some more chocolate. But hopefully, come November time, definitely late October, training can resume and we will officially be on the countdown to Kona 2023.
Whoopsie! Hello, my name is Amy.
It was a good time of year to get that volume of training in. And Amy's not here to press the button.